There are just over 100 Game Boy Advance games that feature a Single-Pak Link option. Sometimes referred to as the Multiboot mode, this means that only one copy of the game and a corresponding number of link cables are needed to play multiplayer. Each player does not need their own copy of the game. When each player has their own copy of the game, that's called the Multi-Pak Link mode. In no particular order, these are the best one-cartridge multiplayer games on GBA. But before I jump in, I covered every Single-Pak Linkable GBA game with its own video right here on my channel. So if you wanted to learn more, see the link to my Single-Pak playlist in the description. And watch until the end because I can guarantee there are games here and their unique multiplayer modes that you've never heard of before. And spoiler alert, Mario Kart Super Circuit is not on this list. Okay, let's start this list with an obvious trio of games. Bomberman Tournament and the Japanese exclusives Legendary Bomberman and Bomberman Jetters Game Collection. At the top of this list is Bomberman Jetters Densetsu no Bomberman, or translated to Legendary Bomberman because it features the typical top-down Bomberman deathmatch by only needing one copy of the game. But taking it one step further, the included minigames are also outstanding and add tons of quality replay value to an already extensive multiplayer offering. The best part, no restarting of the GBAs, a common issue with Single-Pak Link games due to the very limited RAM available in the hardware. The Single-Pak Link mode in these three games are so good, they rival Multi-Pak Link modes as the load times are fast, there are tons of options to adjust, and there's just so much quality content here, especially with the new gameplay modes in Legendary Bomberman. One is even like Splatoon. Just stay away from Bomberman Max 2 Blue and Red because it's side-scrolling Bomberman and nobody wants that. Guru Logichamp sounds like a horrible idea for a game. Shoot a specific amount of blocks on an Excel-like spreadsheet to solve puzzles before your opponent. But in practice, this game is way more entertaining than it has any right to be. Plus it features this weird duck animal thing and colorful visuals, so there's plenty of charm along the way. It might not look like much, but it plays way better than it sounds. Sega managed to take their Dreamcast exclusive, Choo Rocket, and cram it all the way into the GBA's smaller screen. Only one copy of the game is needed for 4 players to duke it out in this top-down, grid-based action puzzler of cat and mouse. All the options are here too, including team battle and gameplay tweaks. The only downside is that it'll take a game or two to get accustomed to the 2 face button and 2 shoulder button interface of the GBA. But once you overcome the small hurdle, Choo Rocket is well worth going through the hassle of connecting link cables, especially since the Dreamcast original hasn't been revived on console since its 1999 debut. Every main Mario platforming game on GBA, as well as Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, includes the original Mario Bros. Minigame that supports 4 players by only needing one copy of the game. This updated take on the classic Mario Bros. Gameplay is well done as it includes updated visuals, different level themes like the ice stages that are really slippery, and even Bowser makes an appearance. The newly included garbage can that provides a random item is also a nice touch. And if you have the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack subscription, this mode is now playable online with players on your friends list. It's highly recommended, and I hope Nintendo makes this a dedicated release at some point. Eggmania is a forgotten Kemco release that features a really fun Single-Pak Link mode for 2 players. Instead of clearing lines to keep your puzzle stack as low as possible, gameplay is essentially Tetris in reverse, as you must build complete lines to grow a tower, throwing junk at your opponent along the way. I even think this multiplayer mode is more entertaining than the bigger brother console ports. And since this is a forgotten game, it sells for cheap if you manage to find a copy in the wild. Famista Advance is a Japan-exclusive sequel to classic RBI Baseball on the original NES and has a creative multi-boot mode for 2 players. Instead of playing a full game of simulated baseball, this one-cartridge multiplayer mode is basically Top Golf but presented like a home run derby. The goal is to hit targets spread throughout the field to score points, get base hits, or even activate random effects. Since every hit is declared as an out as long as it isn't foul, gameplay moves quickly in this 7-inning game. Also, it retains the look, feel, and sound of the NES original, which just so happens to be the best baseball game of all time. This is highly recommended, especially if you're a longtime fan of the series. Simple 2960 Tomodachi Series Volume 3 is a Japanese exclusive reaction-based puzzle game that tasks the player with aligning star constellations. It sounds like a bad idea on paper, but it's one of the most unexpectedly fun multiplayer modes on the system, especially if you can link a full roster of 4 players. Even though it lacks options, it makes up for it with its creative and one-of-a-kind gameplay. The GBA received 2 spinning stick simulators, and both games are pretty awesome. Don't let the ridiculous concept deceive you. The original game, Kurukurukuran, is also currently available on the Switch Online service, complete with newly implemented online support. But its sequel, Kururin Paradise, also features several exclusive minigames that are rather creative and provide ample replay value. For a game that's all about a stick that constantly rotates, there's a surprisingly amount of quality gameplay here and plenty of reasons to connect those link cables. Tringo mixes Tetris with Bingo and offers a simple yet fun one-cartridge multiplayer experience for up to 4 players. Basically, you need to fill your game board with Tetris pieces, but you need to do it faster than your linked opponents. It might take a couple of games to fully understand, but it's one of those games that winds up being way better than you might assume. And since this game flew under the radar, it also sells for cheap if you manage to find a copy in the wild. Do not dismiss Ultimate Card Games because it's a card game compilation. The developers crammed so many options into this robust multiplayer offering, this game just might have one of the most extensive multiplayer modes on GBA. Also, the soundtrack. I wish I could explain how or why a card game compilation has such a deep soundtrack, one that's loaded with a stupid amount of quality. Due to the limited storage space available on the GBA, music is always the first gameplay aspect that gets cut, and many single-pack linking games don't even have any, but it totally shines here. Even if you hate card games, there's no denying the amount of extensive care that went into this underappreciated game. Saving a couple of personal favorites for last, Puyo Pop and Puyo Pop Fever are 2 of the best puzzle games on GBA, and both feature one-cartridge multiplayer modes that support 2 to 4 players. The sequel, Puyo Pop Fever, features those bigger pieces, so there's a little bit more variety, but both games offer outstanding classic Match 4 gameplay. And since there are no Tetris games released here in the American territory that offered a Single-Pak Link multiplayer mode, Puyo Pop is easily the next best thing. While there are many GBA games that support the Single-Pak Link feature, I think these 15 are some of the best. But what do you think? Have you played any of these games? What are some of your favorites? Let me know in the comments. And if you wanted to learn about this forgotten and underappreciated multiplayer feature of every single GBA game that supports this one-cartridge multiplayer mode, including the Japanese exclusives, check out my GBA Single-Pak playlist. The link will be in the description. Until next time, thank you for watching and game on.